we'll get to names in just a moment.
Okay.
But I wanted to make a couple comments before we move on to the question session. First, just from listening to all of your stories, they're all very compelling stories. Seems that the nexus, or the thing that brings them all together, is community. Without your community, without a fallback mechanism, you wouldn't be where you are now. Or it would be much harder to get to where you are now. Because you need someone to help push you along when you're feeling down, or someone to help give you ideas, and or money, yes, or resources, whatever it is. The reason why I started this club is because over the past 5 to 10 years of doing research, my big my motivation personally is the recognition that the United States has lost community for the past 30 years. We have lost a sense of being together, we've lost a sense of listening to each other, we've lost a sense of being able to combine our actions. We do have spaces now where people can give their voice. We have blogs, we have YouTube, we have websites. But often those are only voices in the wilderness, or voices that are talking past each other. And part of that is just a matter of our economy. People live apart from each other. They live out in the suburbs, they go to work, they come home. Our lives are structured in such a way that we don't really have an opportunity for community. And so it seems that what you have identified here is trying to use your talents to bring that back. But you had to have the community in the first place to even get going.
Well, I kind of disagree, because in my experience, I'm the oldest child of a single parent, like too white for my Puerto Rican family, too dark, you know what I mean? And what I love that you're saying is that the emphasis is community. Like, we all need to create it and have it, but what I was suggesting is there may not be a community, and you may need to be the one to start it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Is, when I go through and present to companies, I'm like, why am I doing this? Because what exists, I ended up feeling lonely, I ended up feeling overwhelmed, and I really didn't have community. And, it's not like I grew up in a family where we would sit around and talk. We didn't, and when anyone ever did have an opinion, you'd be shut down pretty quick. So for me, it's the opposite. It's the exact lack of community and the suffering that made me just finally say enough. And honestly, I've been at this now for 5-6 years. It's only in the last 6 months that I've barely begun to create the kind of community support that you're talking about, and you're a part of it. But it's hard. And so...
well, that's what I was sort of trying to get at. It seems to be a catch-22. You're identifying community as a resource you can draw on, but then and you're talking how to create it. Even if you don't have those resources, how does someone start from scratch? Assuming that maybe you just got out of prison, or maybe you are living, maybe you're living in a place where everyone else around you, they're not going to support you. And that's sort of what I wanted to get out of this conversation.
I worked in finance before I became a coach. I worked in private equity, so it was like you had to have $10 million or more to invest. Can you imagine declaring, like, yeah, I'm a life coach? Those people were like, you are out of your mind. Or even for my family, but that's why with the resources, I actually recommend coming up with a list of resources. Like, who do I know? Who do you know? For me, it's like, I got involved with communities, like I just started going to events. Like, this is an event that I kind of care about. And then maybe the first time you'll go by yourself, and then you'll meet a Jason, and then you'll meet a Veronique, or then you'll meet a Mariah, and then you take their card, and you actually stay in touch. In coaching, we talk about kind of like relationships are either killing them, growing them, or letting them die slowly. And many of us, like especially living in New York, we tend to isolate ourselves. So I really encourage all of you to create that community by being out there. Go get interested in something.
In fact, that's what I wanted to bring up here. The purpose of today is twofold. We're having a discussion about how to take your ideas, find your passion, and turn it into action. And then use that action to go forth into the community. On June 9th, there is an event being co-sponsored by Behance. Behance.com is BEHANCE.com, and All Day Buffet, which is alldaybuffet.org. Good Magazine is also promoting the event. Basically, from June, I believe it's June 3rd through June 11th, there's what's called Internet Week, and they're going to be taking all these ideas from nonprofit sectors, and they are having coaches work on these ideas and make sure that they are presentable for the next stage. So on June 9th, these two organizations, Behance and All Day Buffet, are going to essentially offer free counseling and free coaching
That's great.
to help you as individuals take your idea to the next stage. What I'm hoping we will do is take students from Lehman College, either at Lehman College or the high school students who are here, and help you take your idea to the next stage with this project. So I'm hoping you sign up and come forward with an idea you might have, and we can then get you involved in this process. And so before we go on, do you have any
I'd
comments?
just like to say a quick preface about ideas. Have an idea. You know, an idea hits you and you might not even notice. And if you remember anything about what I shared with you, I was reading a report, and we read things, we see things, we hear things all the time, whether it's through friends or through news or however. And something inside you goes, cool, or something inside you goes, that is so wrong. And then we just go about going on. So I would just say to spend the next 36 hours of your life paying attention to that little voice inside you that gets pissed off or really excited. It can be anything. Maybe you're getting excited playing a video game. Well, then take 2 seconds and ask, why am I enjoying this? What is it? Is it because it is community? It's the only time that I have friends. So then maybe part of the idea you'll have is creating a new community. Okay, when we're done playing video games, I'm just throwing it out there. So an idea doesn't have to be that your whole life you've had this struggle with blah, 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 blah. It could be an idea you haven't had yet, or that's just in there you don't even know. But it's probably tied to something that you have a reaction to, like, oh, I want more of this, or I want less of this.
And you won't know until you show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to, I forgot who said it, but it's like success. It's 70% showing up.
That was Edison. It's
Or
yeah.
whatever it is. Like,
And half the battle is showing up to
Yeah.
the events. Yeah, I think when you talk about ideas, as a political science person, we often talk about the presidency. What makes a good president, and one of the distinctions we draw is between the fox and the hedgehog. The fox is very, very clever, has lots of ideas, tries to do like maybe 100 things at once. May not be successful at all of them, but over time, maybe say half of them work out. The hedgehog, in contrast, is one big idea. It could be one big principle or one big goal, and they get everyone in line with that big goal. That's just, some of us are very generative, we're very creative, we're very, we get ideas all the time. Others, we have one big question, that's it. So, half the battle is figuring out what kind of person are you.
And wasn't that contest also tied to money? Like 10 people win and they help really launch the idea?
I think part of it is, yes.
Yeah, so, something.
But you see, here, you're on the right track though, because money is one thing that all of us need. But other than money, or in addition to money, we also need ideas, and we also need friends. I call them intellectual capital, the ideas, financial capital, the money, and social capital, the friends. When you combine them all together, that's what produces the impact. Because ultimately what you're doing is you're creating the organizations that have sustainable impact. That's why like what you're doing with Generation Engage, because you bring these people and ideas together in the technology that everyone is comfortable with now, and turning it into a sustainable format where people are excited to talk to these people about these different topics.
I also, one thing I'm hearing as kind of a separate undercurrent, but kind of related, is the notion of service. And we haven't really talked about it, but I can tell you I've gotten all of my jobs and everything I have by being of service. Like whether it be, just volunteering for a community service project, and then someone hears about this or that, or indirectly. So I really invite you guys, like if you don't have a big great idea, if you don't know what you're interested, to go out there and be of service. And alternately, like you may have a project and you'll invite people and you'll actually allow them to serve you and your project.
Yeah, I think service is one of the underlying undercurrents here, because for 28 years we've lived in what's called the need society. selfish, greedy, etc. I mean, I'm hoping after this discussion you will understand that there's more to life than just that. And you can get the money, you can get the big house and car and everything else, but when you really want to have the sort of life that will be fulfilling, then you bring all these elements together. And I guess I want to then turn it over to the audience. I mean, we've seen this process, inspiration, incubation, and cultivation. And some of you may have ideas, some of you may not. Um, but I'm wondering, do any of you out there have any sense of the kinds of issues or ideas you might want to be bringing to an event like